Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it might be where you are. Welcome back to my live stream. My name is Jeff Fritz. Today is June 4th, 2019, and we're going to write a lot of code today. It's going to be a tremendous day. Good morning, chat room. It's so good to see you. And we've got a guest today. I'm peeking a little bit here on my mixer. How's it going? Today I'm joined by Bobby Johnson. There he is.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, so good to see you. For folks who don't know who you are, haven't seen you in the chat room, why don't you give a quick intro?
Yeah, sure. My name is Bobby Johnson. I'm a developer advocate at Auth0. That basically means I'm a special type of engineer that teaches other engineers. I've been a software developer for about 18, 20 years, and most of it on the Microsoft stack.
Yeah. So, gosh, that's feels like something that I've been doing now for a while as well, right? First I was doing that for Telerik. Now I do a little bit of that. Developer relations, right? Developer advocacy. We used to call it developer evangelism back in the day. Gosh, that didn't sound religious at all.
Yeah, there was an interesting argument a couple years back about the evangelism aspect of that title. Meaning it sets you in a way that you're proselytizing to developers about your product.
Yeah.
And the advocate role kind of flipped that script, and you're more there as a role to advocate for the users of your product back into the company, right? So teaching people how to use the product, but also getting the feedback from them about where the product may be falling down for them, or how it could be easier to use, and taking that back to the team. Yeah.
I've also described it as kind of that nougaty center between product and customers, where sales folks that aren't technical aren't able to engage, right? We do a little bit of that technical sales and marketing to connect the two groups and write a little bit of code along the way. So, yeah, very cool stuff. I've got my NASA hat on today. I'm a big fan of it's the Apollo 50th anniversary. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's been 50 years since Apollo and we put men on the moon. That's just amazing. But we're going to do something a little bit easier than putting men on the moon, aren't we?
Yes, we are. Yeah.
So
luckily, Microsoft has done like 90% of the work for us.
Yeah, right? And we're going to just bolt onto that, and hopefully we'll have some cool features here for our friend Quiltoni and some of the other folks that are going to use this bot that we've been working on for the last few weeks. I want to say hello to some folks there in the chat room. Ancient Coder, I Love Code, Stelzy, hello. A Hofling, good to see you. Surly Dev, easier but with about 100 times as much code. I think Surly Dev hasn't seen what we're about to do here. This is going to be cool. Jaroke, sometimes I think about 5% of the remaining 10%. Oh, the botception. We had one bot answer another bot in chat. Nice. You remember watching the landing? Yeah, the retrospectives and stuff around Apollo are going to be really cool this year. So, oh yeah, it's going to be a lot easier than putting a man on the moon. A lot more lines of code, because let's face it, we actually have computers. They only had slide rules and the like. That was crazy when you think about it. My gosh, all those calculations with a slide rule. Oh. So we've been working on this project for a while about trying to build a distributed bot so that folks can log into somewhere on the web, and we'll be able to scale this bot up and down to connect to other folks' chat rooms with different configurations for folks. And in talking to you, Bobby, we were saying it will be really neat to authenticate with. And as we're going through this project, we both kind of landed on the same thing of, well, you need to log in with Twitch. Why don't we let folks log in with Twitch and configure their bot? Mm-hmm. So chat room, I think that's where we're going to go today. We're going to start setting up this integration so that you can log in to what's right now called the Pixel bot and be able to authenticate with Twitch using Auth0. I think that sounds like a really cool and a really cool walkthrough and experiment here with the code. Not even experiment, you got it working. But to integrate these two pieces and start forging forward with, here's how to configure the bot and sign up and register as a new user. So I'm looking forward to this. I think this is going to be really productive. Chat room, I hope you like it as well. Would Neil Armstrong have wanted to play Candy Crush on the moon? Certainly, Dev. I need to get my sad tuba handy. There we go. No, don't think so. He would have stayed inside if he had Candy Crush. I think you're right, Jirok. All right, what do you say we head over to... Let's look at some code. Let me make sure. Look at that. It's like we're sitting next to each other in front of the code or something.
Nice. Right? Green screen team unite.
All the green screens all the time. Check it out there. Fortnite only on the moon. Now they're getting carried away over there. Hey, Carrie, love the hype, huh? Isn't this cool? So this is the project for out on GitHub for the Pixelbot. Let me copy this URL into chat for folks that want to check it out. I'm going to throw a project command in there as well. Adding authentication to the Pixelbot using auth0. There we go. Live streaming from the Sea of Tranquility. No. Gosh, you wouldn't be able to get a Twitch connection reliably from there. Wow, that went over like a fart in church. Okay. So, we've got the security alert here just because I haven't promoted all the way through an update to jQuery here. Right, if I click through there, it'll show us jQuery 3.4.0. I do have that updated in a different version, in a different branch. So I'm okay with this message for right now. It's not in production. So we're okay with that. Now, I've been working over in this feature multi-tenant branch because we're adding multi-tenant capabilities and we're going to make this deployable out to a cloud, probably in a container with Kubernetes so it can scale up and down. And we started using Akka.net to set up the actor model to coordinate and orchestrate all of our things. And we were using, to get everybody up to speed, we were using this orchestrator project as our base ASP.NET project that's using .NET Core 3. And you can see there it's got Akka, we've got Newtonsoft in it, we've got a reference to SQL Server, even though we're probably not going to use SQL Server. And it's got a reference to Twitch lib so that we can make our connections back and forth to Twitch and have the bot interact with chat. What it doesn't have yet is any real web interface for folks to be able to log in and start configuring things. At this point, it just has an index page that lets us tell it to join a channel. Not that index page. It's not in pages. It's in components, pages. I think it's over here in this index page. Yeah, there we go. For each channel currently joined, just list the channels, and we gave a text box to say, okay, go join this channel. So it's right now very much MVP. We can get it to join a channel, but we can get it to allow folks to log in and register and join their channels and let us start configuring things. So this is where we're going to start handing it off to you, Bobby, and talk through, all right, how do we start adding that in here?
Sure. So I did a little research over the weekend and came up with kind of a flow for us to go through to start implementing things. And kind of my goals for the stream is that we introduce into the application authentication based on OpenID Connect. And if you're not familiar with OpenID Connect, it is a industry standard based specification for implementing authentication within an application built on top of OAuth0. Right. So all of the things we're going to be dealing with today are industry standard based. And the nice thing about that is that Microsoft already supports those industry standards out of the box with ASP.NET Core.
So let's, for folks that might be beginners, might be not familiar with the terms, can we just give a quick definition to folks what OpenID and OAuth are?
Sure. OpenID is an open standard for authentication within an application. OAuth is an open standard for delegated authorization And there's a very specific distinction there. And I'll give you an example. OAuth is used when everybody on the stream probably has a LinkedIn account and they probably have some form of email account, right?
Sure.
And I, at least once a week, get an email from LinkedIn saying, hey, would you like to import your contacts from your email client into LinkedIn and send them an invitation to be a link, right,
Yeah.
inside LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Um, and this problem space kind of arose a couple years ago or a few years ago when one website wanted to access the data of another website
Mm.
to do something on your behalf, some kind of functionality. It's mutually beneficial between all three parties that this functionality work. And at the time, the way people solved that problem was website one asked you, LinkedIn asked you, hey, give me your Gmail credentials, your username and password. And I'll go in and I'll be a good citizen and only do the things I'm
Just
telling you
get.
I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you still see that technique used predominantly in the financial area right now. Like your banks sometimes still ask you for passwords to like your credit card account, things like that, right?
Mm.
So OAuth came around to address that specific problem. It was to give one party delegated authorization to take an action on behalf of a user in another party. So LinkedIn take a delegated action inside Gmail on behalf of Bobby.
So for folks that maybe use that button that says log in with Facebook or log in with Twitter, right? Or a lot of
Mhm.
us here on Twitch log in with Twitch. You use that to log into other websites. The login action, that's an OpenID connection. But when you get there and it says, "Oh, I'd like to have access to your email address, your contacts list from that service you're connecting from, that's an OAuth grant of authorization. You're granting access to those resources, right?
Yes, correct. The reason that the things are so intertwined together is that early on, OAuth, it was once this delegated authorization system was set up on the internet to where people could start consuming it, folks like Facebook and Twitter realized that, oh, we know who the user is. So why can't we just assume that once you've successfully gone through one of the OAuth flows and got an access token, we can't assume that you're a logged in user? There were several problems with that implementation, mainly because the token you get back, as specified by OAuth, is opaque. The receiver of the token can't introspect into the token itself to get information out of it. Like that's not a part of the spec in any way, shape, or form. The only way to use an OAuth token is to send it back to the source of the OAuth token.
Mm.
So there is a known attack called the confused deputy attack that arises because of this situation where my LinkedIn gets a token back that might not be for the user I think it's for. And by sending it back to Gmail, I'm
Oh,
actually accessing an account that doesn't belong to me.
okay.
Right?
Okay.
So OpenID Connect adds the primitives on top of OAuth to be able to securely authenticate a user and identify them.
Mm.
One of them is removing the opaqueness of the token. We add a new token called an ID token that's based on JWTs or Java or JavaScript web tokens, JSON
Mm.
web tokens.
Yep. Yep.
We also add a couple endpoints to your authorization server that are specifically about authorizing, authenticating a user, which serves up UI.
Okay.
Things like a consent screen. I'm asking
Yeah.
for permission to read your contacts to send email
Oh
on your behalf.
gosh. Right.
You're
How
going
many
to get a
times?
UI screen that shows that.
Yeah, when you log in with Facebook on different websites, you'll see that blue screen that pops up. Oh, they want to access your contacts list, your email address, blah blah blah. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And then the final piece of it was a standardized way to get information about the user. So a user info endpoint that allows you to get profile information and non-standard profile information. So the spec with OpenID Connect itself has a few elements within the claims that are standardized about like name and ID and that sort of thing. But if you want more information that's maybe specific to the service like Twitter, you can hit the user info endpoint and get that information about them as well.
Gotcha. Well, that makes
Right?
sense.
Yeah. Cool. So, just as a kind of introduction to Auth0, like why are we even talking about Auth0? Auth0 is a identity as a service in the same way that Azure is an infrastructure as a service platform, right?
Right.
When you're using Azure, there are certain things you don't need to be as concerned about as if you had your own data center and were actually racking servers, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Auth0 provides that same level of infrastructure with related to authentication and authorization. So you rely on us being the experts to implement it properly, easily, and you go on and worry about the business domain that you're trying to build your application for, that sort of thing.
Now,
So,
and that makes a lot of sense to me, right? You want to
mhm.
be able to focus on your business domain. You don't want to think about things like, I hate to say it, you don't want to have to think about security. You don't want to think about authorization.
Mhm.
Let the experts in that field deal with that so that you can just do your business stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same concept of starting a ASP.NET MVC project using the templates, right?
Yeah.
Microsoft provides you a huge amount of functionality that's built by professionals that spent months poring over the details and making sure that it's implemented securely and performant, right? So Auth0 has a ton of engineers. I think we're up to over 400 employees now
Awesome.
that are security experts in the space. And we focus on security. So maybe you have a person on your team that has an interest in security and would be interested in developing this sort of thing. Um, but what if that person leaves,
Hmm.
or they happen to think their implementation of using bcrypt is more better than the industry standard, and actually they're wrong? So you get a little bit of security from us in that sense, if that makes sense.
Sure. No, it makes perfect sense. Now, we're by delegating and handing this off. The first question that I had in thinking about, we're building the Pixelbot as an open source project. If I'm
Mhm.
if I'm going to use Auth0, is that
Mhm.
something that I, as a hobby developer, and we haven't matured the project yet, is that something that I can start using without having to incur a bunch of fees and things like that? Have to go through an authorization process and certification, and I need to send a copy of my driver's license to prove who I am, that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
absolutely not. We're very developer friendly in
Okay.
that we offer a free tier, just like most cloud-based services offer a free tier.
Hmm.
And that free tier is pretty generous. I believe it's 7,000 active users per month,
Yeah, we were.
which is a pretty high threshold, especially for hobby projects like what we're doing. And one of the reasons we do that is we want developers using our tools and becoming comfortable with our tools.
Yeah, there we go.
Uh, and then hopefully when they go back to work and they encounter a project where they need identity or something like that, they remember us and they maybe suggest it. So
Right. It's
uh,
a good step up from,
yeah.
all right, I'm going to try this. 7,000 free active users and logins for what we're building. Gosh, if we get to 100 folks that are using this bot by September, I'll be impressed. But we're going to get in. We should be able to have a couple dozen of us using this comfortably with no problem. So I'm thrilled with that. I'm not getting tied into some sort of any kind of a service or a product where we have to commit finances or anything like that up front.
Sure.
Try before you buy, and you really need it.
Sure. There's a hidden benefit there as well, is that because we're open standards based using OpenID Connect and OAuth, if at some point in the future, you want to migrate to another identity solution, like maybe you want to use Identity Server or something like that, like you hire an identity team, it should be fairly easy to migrate over. Hopefully, the features that you find inside Auth0 make that a choice you don't want to make, but the openness of how our platform is built makes that kind of migration less painful.
Terrific.
Yeah.
I'm going to look at the chat room here real quick. Carrie says, "I really love Auth0. Great flexibility. Most of all APIs for all the things. Cool." Worldwake says, "We've been running an Nginx and Node.js setup with the whole incoming traffic going through Node.js. Runs the authentication layer to everything. Working with Auth0 works real nice. Cool. There you go. A couple testaments from the chat room.
Yeah. Very cool.
And
Thank you, everybody.
Pat1567 says, I feel like I'm going to have to rewatch this VOD a couple of times. Pat, if there's anything that we go a little bit fast on, please call us on it. Let us know in the chat room if there's something that we can explain a little bit further, and we'll take a step back, talk through it, make sure that everybody understands it before we go forward so that you don't have to watch it a couple times, and we make sure that everybody understands.
Yeah, absolutely. The one of the byproducts of being based on industry standards is there's really heavy insular jargon around security topics. So sometimes I start talking the jargon of the industry, assuming everybody understands that jargon. And yeah, we can definitely explain those things.
Stelzy asks how long the free tier lasts.
As long as you want it. Yeah, it's more about when you exceed the limits on the free tier. The next tier up would be a developer license, which is $13 a month.
So there you go. And $13, that's not too bad. That's a cup. That's a pair of cups of coffee. Easy for me to say, right? So, and really, we're only using one social identity provider for what we're going to do. We're just going to connect out to Twitch.
Yeah, but it gives you the option in the future of maybe connecting to Twitter, so that you can maybe have the bot actually interact with both services, right? So we're doing things within chat, but we're announcing things to Twitter, right? So maybe you've used services before where you authenticate in and they're like, hey, connect your Facebook, connect Twitter, connect this, and then new functionality becomes available because you've connected your account into those services. That's something that we facilitate as well.
Okay.
So what we can do to get started, why don't we just go ahead and create your account?
Okay. So I'll click through, start now, sign up, and I hope you don't mind. I'm going to go to our other screen here while I fill in my password information. It's bad enough I give out my email address everywhere. I'm not going to let people see me key in my password. My gosh. Or I could sign up with GitHub. Oh, you know what? I'm going to click this one down here, do that over there.
Shockingly enough, we use our own authentication to do signups.
Now look at that. Let this app access you, right? So I think I can show this, right? Let this app access your info. Yes, it can access my info, manage, and be able to read my profile. Welcome to Auth0. What's the main challenge you need to solve? Well, I want to add authentication to my app, right?
Yep.
All right, so I'll choose that. Next. Who is this account for? Me. Choose your hosting region. I'm in the States. All right. Tenant domain. So I get to give this a domain. Did you expect me to give it something else besides C# Fritz, right? Okay. Dashboard. Come on. All right. Right. Secure access to your account. Invite a backup admin. Should I do that so that you can see what's going on here and help walk through this? Yeah. So I'll click invite admins, dashboard admins, tenant admins. Going. All right. And I need to key in an email for you.
Okay. Oh, you want me to tell you it? It's bobby.johnson@auth0.com.
At auth0.com. Sure, add that so that you can help me wander around here and make sure that I get things set up right. MFA, what is MFA? What does that mean here?
MFA is multi-factor authentication. So what multi-factor authentication basically means is that you're not reliant on one method of authenticating a user. And the most common implementation of that people are familiar with probably is you go and you log into a website with your username and password. It asks you for a challenge code of some kind and you get a text on your phone, right?
Or you have that
different varieties. Yeah, you have an app on your phone that you approve it. Another variety is maybe you get an email with a special magic link that you click and it gives you the second factor of authentication.
Yeah.
And it's just an added way of verifying it truly is you. And it can be done in such a way that it's done to secure areas of your website as well. So like if you've been on Amazon before,
Mm.
You add things to your cart, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to check out, and it says, oh, wait, what's your password again? You can use multi-factor authentication in that way as well, where you're ensuring you're granting a higher level of authorization, basically, to secure areas of your application.
Yeah.
So,
That
yeah,
makes sense, right? You're about to make a payment. You're about to authorize a charge against your payment services. Yeah, give me that authorization one more time here.
yeah.
Pat1567 asks, does Auth0 allow for you to connect another provider, such as Active Directory? Well, you already mentioned we can
Mhm.
connect Twitter, but Active Directory, it feels like you're crossing the streams there. Active Directory does a little bit of this as well already, doesn't it?
Well, this is where Auth0's bread and butter really is when we start talking about proxying requests between different types of authentication mechanisms. So
Mm.
you make your application reliant on open standards connecting to Auth0, but then in your management dashboard, you can go in and connect to your internal Active Directory instance and
Ah,
it's be able to authenticate users in that Active Directory instance.
okay.
You can also connect it to maybe a database in some of your legacy applications that had authentication built into them. You can connect to that as a source of users to authenticate with. And then all of your applications have one interface for your users to log in.
Okay.
Another scenario that's very common for using some of these advanced enterprise features is partnerships. So
Mm.
I am, let's say, Costco, and I have a username and password for my general public customers to come in, but I also have a partnership with Lazyboy. And
Okay.
Lazyboy wants to be able to configure their users in their internal systems, but to be able to log into the Costco website to be able to do purchases, right? So
Mm.
we have a partnership relationship versus a customer relationship, general public customer relationship.
I feel like it would also work really well when you're doing a merger, right? If,
Yes,
if
absolutely.
one organization is acquiring another, organization A is going to acquire organization B. If they're both using Auth0, that merge, right, can happen by just adding additional providers on Auth0, and everybody gets access to the other domains.
Yeah,
Nice.
absolutely. And
Um,
we make those kinds of scenarios very easy to do, well, not without having to redeploy your application for every time you add a new authentication mechanism, right? It's
nice.
just you come to the Auth0 dashboard, you configure the new thing, and it's automatically available to all your authenticating users.
Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Copper Beardy asks, does Auth0 work with Blazor? We're about to find out. Uh,
So we don't have an official SDK for Blazor yet or guidance on it, but I would foresee it coming very rapidly. So,
the word is that the authorization and authentication features are coming in preview 6 of Blazor, which is due any day now. And I'm actually working on having one of the engineers from the Blazor team join us next week here on stream. So stay tuned, and I'll lock that down and share that information when I have it, and then we can work on making this work together with that. All right, so I've added myself here. What are the next steps to get this configured so we can log in with Twitch?
yeah, so the first thing we need to do is we need to make Auth0 aware of your application, aware of Pixelbot. So in the left-hand navigation, right underneath the dashboard link is a application link.
Okay.
So go ahead and click that, and then click Create New Application up at the
All
top.
right. Name the app. So I'll name it Pixelbot to start.
That works for me.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the next thing we need to do is we need to decide what kind of app it is.
Mm.
Um, the the differences here modify the way you're going to be implementing the OAuth flow, right?
Okay.
So native applications, single page applications, and regular web applications differ slightly in the way you go about doing an OAuth flow.
Okay.
Because we're using MVC, it's basically a regular web application. And what makes it a regular web application is everything is server side rendered. So basically we're doing round trips to the server every time we're getting information and re-rendering the page. The benefit of that is that for server-side rendering, we can store state on the server side
Right.
versus a single page application where all of the rendering logic happens in the client itself. Um, the state is usually stored in the browser, not on the server. So things change slightly differently between the two. So we'll select a regular web application here.
All right. And create. So I've got a client ID, and client ID is okay to share. I haven't doxed our application already.
Not yet, no. As soon as we get to the settings tab, that's what you'll need to be concerned with.
Okay.
But this is a part of our user onboarding is you go in and you define your application, you answer a couple questions about it. The first one is, the one we just covered. The next one is, okay, well, what platform are you using? And we give you a whole host of server-side render platforms to choose from.
Nice.
And if we go up and we choose ASP.NET Core, currently right now we're supporting 1.2. We bring you to a tutorial page on how to implement Auth0 in that specific technology. And you have three choices here. You can go through the tutorial on the left-hand side, or on the right-hand side, you can actually download a sample app that's been slipstreamed in with your keys that you just created.
Okay.
To get a working example of the authentication baked right into the technology that you're using. If you don't want to do that, you can also just go view that source code on GitHub.
Okay.
Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I'm going to right click and just view it over here. And okay. So looking at this, I see controllers, views, root makes sense. And I'm guessing in app settings here, there's going to be somewhere where it says, here's where your keys should be, but they're not actually there. Yeah. Domain, client ID, client secret. Okay.
Yeah. And I'll show you where to get that information. So if you go back to the dashboard.
All right. Up top here.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me. Go back to the application.
All right.
My bad. On the settings tab, you may want to security guard that, not show your key, but we can regenerate one if you want to show people what the screen looks like.
Oh, you know what? It's dots to start there.
Okay, good. So we're good to go. So really all we need right now are the 3 bits of information there, the domain, the client ID, and the secret.
All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start Notepad and just copy these in, copy to clipboard, paste over here, copy to clipboard, paste it over there, and copy to clipboard, paste it over there. All right. So I've got it on 3 separate lines, sitting in Notepad. Good. Application logo, I guess that's if we wanted to show a logo when it pops up with that. You're logging in with this application. We can share that there. When we actually publish the application, it would make sense to have a logo that goes with that. Gosh, we'll grab Quiltoni's caricature and use it because that was, never mind. Token endpoint authentication method post. Yep, we're going to post to an endpoint. Allowed callback. Don't we have to tell it somewhere in here? Here's where you're going back to after you log in?
We do, yes. And we'll get to that eventually. Okay. Right?
All right.
But for a bare minimum to start implementing, all you need are those 3 bits
those
of
3
information.
points?
Basically, you register your application, you get a domain, client ID, and a client secret.
Okay.
So we can hop over to the code base.
Yep. So let me open Visual Studio. I'm going to open Visual Studio 2019 Preview. Jump into this. Pat1567 says, not yet. Optimism at its best. No, you can actually see the source code for Blazor as it's being built, and they're building it right now. So yeah, it's coming soon, and they'll make it better. They'll make it stronger, more impressive. Honest, it'll be here. We should set up a live share so that you can connect in and interact with the code here.
The display that I have, the text on your editor is a little fuzzy, so it would help me be able to see where we're at. So yeah.
Oh, that not yet was in reference to me not doxing my client secret. Yeah, that's gonna happen. It happens at least once or twice here. I'm gonna sign in with GitHub. Ready to collaborate. Thank you. And this should finish up here. There we go. Invitation link. I get paranoid and I always click copy again just because I do get paranoid. All right, I'll share that link. Some might even say that it will blaze new trails. Thank you, Hugo. Thank you. Well done. Yeah. The dad jokes are strong today, all right? Oh my gosh. Font could use being a touch bigger. Yeah, you're right. Not there.
All right, give me just a second.
Not a problem. While you're doing that, I'll bump up the font size. Oh, you know what? It's on 82%. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
There we go. That's your MFA. Bad puns and dad jokes. Yeah, well. All right. Yeah, there's my access token. Great. Everybody just saw that. We'll have to regenerate that. Bummer. You need a bigger monitor. Well, there are actually some folks watching on a phone. You don't have a boss. Lucky you, Smab. Yeah, that app settings we're going to need to redo. This one I think is okay. Yeah, there it is. On iPhone, you can zoom in on the Twitch app. Yeah, but I don't think you want to be zoomed in all the time. I agree, Lewis. Watching a coding stream on a phone is difficult. So, your boss shields you from customers. Nice. Nice.
I am not finding where to join the session.
You're in Visual Studio Code?
Yeah.
So, let me make sure I give you the right directions here. So the live share button over here. And of course it just disappeared on me. Wonderful. Thanks so much. Come on. It's like reloading everything here on me. There it goes. Join collaboration session. It's right up top on the thing here. It's right there's 3 segments. The top one is session details. Oh,
I'm back. I'm trying to figure out how to get back to my view of your stream in Skype. Let's see.
Well, I can actually share my screen. That'll probably be a little bit easier to see. If I share that. Up here, the top one is join collaboration session.
All right.
And it'll...
okay. I've found it. Thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
Live share. Let's make sure I've got the right URL.
Can't you just send the link? I did send the link. Sometimes you watch Twitch on your Amazon stick on the TV, which is good, just a pain to chat through. Copper Beardy, you know what I do? I do watch with right, I do have a Xbox hooked up to the TV, and I load the Twitch app on that, and I use just chat on my phone. There you go. Now you're in.
All right, yeah.
Now we can see you there.
Go. I can see what I'm doing.
We're cooking with gas. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so to begin, we should probably set those keys as your in your secret store, right? So we don't have to worry about them anymore.
Sure. Now, I want to leave like a template here. I want to leave just a place inside of app settings so I know where to put them. I have under bot config, but I think next to that is where I want to put the auth0 config, right? And there was a templated section in that GitHub project that I saw. Do you want to paste those in down here at the bottom, and then I'll make the same thing appear in the secret store for this, for development?
Yeah, sure. So give me just a second, and I will do that.
All right. When the ice cubes suddenly are melted down, they're small enough to fit through the top of the shaker. It's like a sudden surprise. Ice in the mouth. Let's see. Gareth likes to watch on the Xbox, chat on the phone. Yeah. Right? That way makes it real easy to see code at that point. Twitch app is no longer available, so you had to have it already installed on the Roku. Yeah, I thought that was weird that they pulled the Twitch app from the Roku. That felt strange to me. Hey, Mark Beeger. Was that Mark Berger? And Brett Miller is here. Hello. Good to see you. All right, so that's what it should look like. I'm going to copy that section. I'm going to just flip over to this view while I right-click on the project and say Manage User Secrets, because I don't want that to appear on stream because I've done it way too many times. And I'm just going to copy and write where client ID and client secret were, those last two keys from the dashboard. There they are. Save. All right. And we'll come back to this. Now, you were able to see that because I was sharing my screen, but everybody else couldn't see it. Always check your secrets into GitHub so you don't lose them. Yeah, thanks, Lewis. Thanks.
Yes, we're always looking for them for free resources, so thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
So some of my sample code actually has these environment variable names slightly differently. I have them prefixed with an auth0 underscore. So maybe we should update those to where we're not constantly forgetting it.
Okay.
To do the mapping between the two. So something like auth0 underscore with a proper 0. There we go.
Okay.
And we should do that on the secret settings as well? Or no? Yes.
The real values are over there.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. Okay. So the next thing that we need to do is actually go into our startup. And we are going to do some configuration of services. So let's see. Where's a good place to put all of this stuff?
You know what? And the tabbing here is awful. I'll live with it for now. So you actually wrote an extension method to do this.
Yeah, it's a good amount of code. It's a good 50, 60 lines. So I like to tuck those bits of configuration into an extension method. And the way that I do that is I typically have a services area of my project like you have right now.
Yeah, over here.
And I add a folder in there for my extension method for authentication. And then add a new type as well.
Is it letting you add those?
I don't know. I don't see it on your side. It's letting me add it on my side.
All right, when you save, let's see if it appears. Oh my gosh, look at that arrow.
Did it pop
Authentication, auth extensions.
That's pretty nice.
And I'm waiting to see it open. Or break. I haven't seen that before. 60 lines. What are we rewriting? Yeah, come on, I love code. Come on now.
We can go through it though, and you'll see why all the lines are necessary there. So can you open the file?
I'm trying to open it. It's taking its good old time.
I put some content in there, so maybe that's what it was waiting to sync.
Wait. I click back into program. All right. Let's see. It's not opening just yet. That's weird. Right? It sees the class. Object inner reference. Oh, look at this.
Is the file on disk?
That's a good question. That's a good question. Where is it? Here, there, services, authentication. Yep, there it is.
Okay. Does it have content?
Oh, yeah.
It does. Okay.
So Visual Studio just hasn't gotten with it yet. I don't want to close and reopen this because that'll just nuke the live share session.
Can you refresh the solution
Yeah, right.
or unload, reload the project?
Let's see. Where is it? Unload project. Reload project. There it goes. Now it found it. All right.
Okay, there we go.
Can I try to jump to his position with live share? Yep, there we are. Well, now that I'm there. I see a bug report via Twitch clip incoming. Yeah, I think you're right, Stelzy. It's not a bad idea. All right.
Yeah.
So it looks like we've got a couple references missing here, but why don't you go ahead and explain what you wrote?
Yeah, so what this is it's an extension method to configure an OpenID Connect identity provider. And that starts on line 21, right? We're using the builder to add an OpenID Connect identity provider. We're giving it a name of auth0, and then we're setting a bunch of options based on that. We're setting the authority for our application. We're setting our client ID and client secret that we got from auth0.
Okay, so the authority is that domain that we configured, c#fritz.auth0.com.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
That means all of the claims that are going to be coming from this particular OpenID Connect are the authority of those claims is going to be your tenant within auth0.
Okay.
Then we're setting a response type of code. We're specifying the OAuth flow that we're going to be using for doing authentication.
Okay.
And I can send you a link real quick where we can walk through what that flow means in terms of interactivity between the two services. So let me send that to you. I'm dumping it into chat to where other people can bring it up. It's a little light,
great idea.
So it might look dark or hard to see on your screen. So
not a bad idea, so that everybody can click through.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you scroll down to how it works, you basically have four entities here, right? You have the user, you have your regular web application, you have your auth0 tenant that we just created, and then potentially some kind of API that you want to access. And that API would be one that's your API. So you're securing maybe one of your backend APIs, and you want your regular web application to be able to access it. So from the user standpoint, they go into your web application and they're unauthenticated. They get served up a page that asks them to log in. So they get a button, they click log in.
Mm-hmm.
That sends a request to the regular web application, which then redirects the user's browser to the auth0 tenant to the authorize endpoint. And if you remember, I said that the OpenID Connect specification adds two endpoints to your identity server. This is the first one, the authorize endpoint.
Okay.
And what it's going to do is it's going to ask you to log in if you're not already logged in with auth0.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to ask you to give consent to whatever claims we're requesting within our OpenID Connect or OAuth2 flow.
Okay.
Right? So what the tenant then does is redirect the user's browser to the login authorization prompt. The user does whatever is necessary to log into auth0, and they give their consent. It goes back to auth0, which produces an authorization code.
Okay.
That code is like a claim ticket that says, okay, this ticket is proof that the user is consented to allowing you to log in.
It's some jumbled block of text that folks can't guess.
Yes, but it's not necessarily the access token. It's the code that allows your regular web application to exchange to get an access token.
Okay.
So the way your web app gets access to this authorization code is the auth0 tenant redirects your browser back to the web application with the authorization code as like a query string parameter. Right. So you'll have a callback URL. We will eventually have a callback URL within our application that gets called with this authorization code handed to it. And then server side on your application, it uses that code in combination with its client ID and client secret
Yeah.
to hit the token endpoint on your authorization server. And
Okay.
this is where the token itself gets generated. The authorization server, Auth0, validates the client ID, the client secret, and the code. And if all of them checks out, it issues a ID token, which is your OpenID Connect token that you can introspect on that's based on JWT. And
Mm.
you get the user's identity, their username, password, that sort of thing. And depending on what scopes you've requested, you also will get an access token,
Okay.
which is what you would use to access the API calls, right? So we have a token that represents the identity of the user, and then we have a token that represents the authorization of the user to hit a certain endpoint.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Optionally, there's a third token that you could get, which is called a refresh token, which is used in scenarios where you want to have offline access.
Mm.
So the user's not there to give you consent anymore, but you can use that refresh token to get an access token as long as the scopes have not been modified,
So
right?
you're
So
still requesting, you're still in the same tenant, you're still requesting the same data that was originally granted.
yes, exactly.
Okay.
So refresh tokens are long lived.
Okay.
They're meant to be used in that scenario where you're going to have offline access to functionality. You know, the delegating or delegated authority is performing some action on your behalf, like maybe on a cron cycle. You know, every couple hours they're going out and getting something.
Okay.
You're not there to authorize that. But the refresh token and you saying to grant offline access in this initial transaction gives the application that ability. So
Makes
hopefully I
sense.
haven't lost everybody in that
No.
explanation.
So
There are only three access token types, right? Or token types that you're going to get back. The ID token represents the ID of the user, the
okay.
identity. An access token, which is your authorization to consume some resource out on the internet. And a refresh token if you chose to implement offline access, right? So
That
that's
makes
kind of
sense
the
to me.
whole flow, right? What we're doing is the user is logging into your application, but your application is delegating that authority off to an identity provider. That identity provider in this case is Auth0.
Got it.
What this allows us to do is that as long as you're using that identity provider within all of your applications, the actual authentication and consent screens that are displayed the first time you log in aren't necessarily displayed every single time. So, say we have two regular web applications. I go through this flow on the first web application. I'm already authenticated to the Auth0 tenant. I've already given consent to log in.
Mm-hmm.
The second application just does a round trip to get the tokens, and no screens are actually presented to the user. That's how
Nice.
we implement single sign-on,
Okay.
right?
Let's reflect over the chat room, see if folks have any questions here. Gareth asks, can you use Auth0 to set up your own OpenID server? I want users to have a specific account for my site, not have to use Twitch, Google, Facebook, some other provider. So can you run without a provider behind Auth0?
You can. So we have multiple different stores in which users can come from. One of them is a username and password store
Okay.
that we manage for you, and we manage in such a way that you have password requirements of how secure the passwords are being done. We do things like anomaly detection. So people
Intruder
who
detection.
yeah, we received a login request that's based in California, and 30 seconds later we get one from Korea. That's probably not a legitimate login attempt coming from Korea.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So we'll flag that, right, and we can deny those access requests. One of the cooler, newer features that we've come out with is breached password detection.
Oh.
So if you're familiar with Have I Been Pwned, that website that will tell you if your username and or email is included in any breached password leaks that have happened in the last decade,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we can actually pop up a dialogue and tell the person, hey, your password that you're trying to use right now is breached. Why don't you change it,
That's
right,
pretty
and walk
cool.
them through that flow. So yeah, kind of a cool feature there.
Yeah, yeah.
So does everybody kind of understand the concept of the flow that we're talking about, the code flow?
Looks like I think we're okay here. Just taking
Okay.
a look here. Hey, Cryosis OS, good to see you. It's been a while. Thanks for coming back. This is an amazing website. Convinced me to move to using a password manager. Yeah, Gareth, it's a great idea to use a password manager. the have I been pwned? My gosh, you can see just how many folks don't do security correctly.
Yeah.
Pat1567 asks, are refresh tokens also required to get a new access token when the access token is expired without having to log back in? Yes, right? That's what it does.
That's the purpose of the refresh token.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Good explanation, Bobby. Yes, and
All right.
and right, you were Auth0, Bobby, and if folks had seen you in chat and on Twitter before, but now you're not myself.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to do kind of behind the scenes is there's an Auth0 account on Twitch, and apparently it's been scooped up by a squatter.
Oh.
And so we're trying to take over that account and start funneling Auth0 content through that channel. So all of the evangelists within Auth0 potentially would be doing Twitch streams on that channel, as well as moves a couple of our online meetups to be streamed through that channel.
Nice.
So I wanted to remove the Auth0 from my username, just to where I wasn't being known as the Auth0 guy. I'm not myself, who happens to stream on the Auth0 channel every once in a while.
There you go.
Right. So that's why I did the name change.
The final question from Hugo. So Auth0 provides a user store for authentication. Does it support authorization?
Yes. So there's a distinction that we need to make, right? There is 3 levels of your question. There's the authentication piece, there's an authorization piece, and there's an access control piece. And Auth0, what we do is we do the authentication piece, some of the authorization piece for you, and none of the access control. And let me define kind of what those 3 phases mean. Authentication obviously means identifying who the user is. So I'm building a banking application and I log into that application. I've done the authentication piece. I know who that user is. The authorization piece is, okay, based on that user's login, what are they allowed to do within the system? With the banking system, they might be able to withdraw money, they might be able to deposit money, that sort of thing. Those in our environment would be considered like scopes that the user is granted within an access token. The access control piece is usually very, very contextual and related to the business functionality of your application. So while authentication is the who, authorization is the what, access control is the limit. So I, as a banking customer, can withdraw money. That's my authentication and authorization. The access control is it limits the I can withdraw money to my account. Right? And that really needs to be implemented within your application. Auth0 isn't necessarily going to help you with that particular piece of the problem.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Although we do have some cool features coming up in the future that might address large portions of what I just said. So
cool.
Yeah.
VSU asks, does the client get a new access token with a refresh token when the access token expires?
Do they get a new refresh token when the access token expires?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. The question is.
So refresh tokens are long-lived. They're meant to be around for a very long time, and its sole purpose is to get a new access token based on the same claims that the user originally granted you.
Okay.
Access tokens are usually very short-lived because there is a slight potential of leaking the access token. So if the access token gets leaked to a party that is nefarious, you want that token to die really fast.
Yeah.
We're talking an access token for very secure organizations might be minutes. I think by default it's an hour within Auth0.
Okay.
And generally we give you some guidance on how to not leak access tokens.
Okay.
So you don't need to be concerned about that.
But,
another thing that
but leaking refresh tokens, that sounds like that could be dangerous.
Yes, very dangerous. You definitely want to be very secure with your refresh tokens. One thing that a refresh token does allow you to do, though, is it gives your authorization server a chance to reevaluate the consent, the grant that was given to the particular application. So if the user comes in and deletes the authorization in the Auth0 tenant for a regular web app, If someone attempts to use the refresh token to gain an access token, the authorization server has a decision point there to be able to say, oh, wait, your application no longer has access, denied.
Ah, okay.
Right.
Okay. And you can
So,
deactivate refresh tokens, Michael Jolly's suggesting. Nice. Okay. All right,
Yeah.
so this is how the flow works back and forth. We've got a little bit of code that we
Yep.
pasted into the project. Let me flip back over to Visual Studio.
Well, can I make one more point about this particular screen that we're looking
sure.
at? The authorization code flow is a number of flows that are defined by auth0, or excuse me, OAuth. And when we made that decision early on about are we a mobile application, are we a regular application, or a single page application, this is what it affects. The flow that is used by a mobile application versus the flow that is used by a single page application does different things.
Okay. I think that makes sense because of your various access points to maintain state back and forth. Alka in the chat room says, refresh tokens aren't so scary. You still need this client secret to refresh, right? Yeah, I think you're right.
Yes.
So
I completely agree with that statement. So we want to go back to the code and we can kind of continue going down what's happening here.
Let's go back there. All right. So we've configured client secret. We've set the response type as code. Configure the scope. We're clearing it. We're adding OpenID. We'd like your profile. We'd like to get access to your email. We're requesting access.
And I'm going to comment out this last one because we're going to have to do some implementation related to that.
Okay.
So scopes are a OAuth concept, right? You're basically requesting scopes that are definitions of the abilities that you're asking for within the delegated authorization. By adding the scope OpenID, this is us declaring that this is a OpenID Connect based authentication attempt. That's the only thing we need to do is add that scope.
Okay. And these other pieces, these are us saying, I'd like this property of the person who's logging in. I'd like their profile property. I'd like their email property.
Yes, exactly. Okay. We'll talk about IDPs later. For adding the profile, because we chose the profile option to pull the whole profile back to us, we need to tell .NET Core what claim within the token that comes back is the name of the person. So within our particular token, and actually I believe this is defined in the OpenID Connect spec, we're using name. So we're defining that because we added this claim, we need to let the OAuth or OpenID Connect provider and ASP.NET know what the name claim is. That's what that line means.
Okay.
Okay. And the next line here is I talked about how OpenID Connect adds endpoints to your identity provider. One of them was authorized. One of them is a user info endpoint. So this is how we're choosing to fetch the profile, is we're hitting the user info endpoint and pulling the profile back to us.
Okay.
Right. And all of this stuff is what's baked into the Microsoft platform itself. This is how they chose to implement it. So if you are implementing any OpenID based provider, you're going to be doing similar things. So the next one is we need to tell our OpenID Connect provider who to call back when we're successfully authenticated, right? So we need some kind of path that's going to be registered within our routes. And that's going to call back into the OpenID Connect library within Microsoft to do the authentication piece within your web application. So it's going to send our code back to this URL, right? The authorization code that we were talking about. That's the URL it's going to hit.
Okay, so let me go back over to the chart there so we can talk about that real quick. So after I click the login link, I'm going to do the authorization code request to authorize. It's going to go into the tenant. I'm going to get redirected back. It says to the browser. So the visitor to my application is going to get their login thing. They're going to key in their login. That's going to go to the tenant. This piece, that callback that you just defined, is where the authorization code is going to be sent from auth0 into the application.
Yes.
That's what that is right there. This is step 5 is what we're telling. We're going to tell ASP.NET Core, listen on this route / callback. And that's where Auth0 is going to call back and tell you the token to use.
You got
it. Okay. That makes sense to me.
Some minor configuration stuff. We're specifying the claims issuer as Auth0.
Cool. That makes sense.
Because we're requesting the profile, we want that ID token to stay around for a while to where we can interrogate its claims and that sort of thing. So the next step here is telling the platform to save the tokens that it retrieves. Sure. Instead of once we get the token, pulling the properties out into a claims identity and then dropping the token, we're going to keep them around to where we can use them later potentially to do some things.
Okay.
And that's it for the configuration-y bits. The next portion is talking about events within the OpenID Connect flow.
Okay.
And there are several events that you can hook into and add some functionality to it. The only one that we're doing right now is on redirect to the identity provider for sign out. So this is functionality that happens when we choose to log out of the application. Because we're relying on a second party, Auth0, to be our identity provider, we need to really think about what logout means in that context.
Okay.
Right. So when you're authenticated to your application, you have a session in the application itself, and you choose to log out. Does that mean you drop the session in your application? Does that mean you should be effectively logging out of the single sign-on capabilities of Auth0? Or because we're also eventually going to get to the point that we're going to be using Twitch to authenticate within our application, do we need to reach all the way through and log out of Twitch as well? Right? There's 3 levels of considerations when you're talking about signing out of the application.
Okay.
Are you logging out of the app? Are you logging out of your identity provider? Are you logging out of the identity provider, downstream identity provider that we're integrating with in Twitch?
Okay.
Right.
That makes sense.
So that's what this particular chunk of code is attempting to address for us. The first thing that we do is we specify a log out URL that is based on your Auth0 domain. I'm just kind of gluing these bits together itself. And what we're passing is our client ID. So what we're saying is when we redirect to the identity provider for sign out, we're going to hit this endpoint and it's going to log us out of Auth0, not necessarily Twitch.
Makes sense.
Okay, so we're constructing the logout URL, and then we're redirecting the user to that logout URL.
Okay.
Okay, so that's all we need to do for the wire up currently. The next thing we need to do is actually give the user some method of being able to log in and log out. So create a login, log out button or something like that.
Don't we need to? So we've got the extension method. We need to put this into our configure services, right? So
yes, we do. Yeah.
So that's in startup.
Do we have the namespace right? I think we're using my namespace, not yours. So might need to change that.
Yeah. Right. So if I change that from app, I am like this. So we'll just change that. And it's telling me I've got a couple of, right? It looks like I've got a bum configuration here. It's not giving me the using directive.
So maybe you're not, this particular project is not 3.0. Let me see. Let me look at my.
Yeah, see, we're going right off the deep end here.
So let's see, looking at your, what is it? I'm looking for the CS proj is what I'm looking at. I want to look at your dependencies. So your Net Core App 3, ASP.NET Core App, are you including that one, or are you explicitly including other things?
It actually, Yeah, it actually gets implicitly included now because it's in this Microsoft Net SDK web up top. So when I open the dependencies here and we look at not SDK, is it under NuGet? I don't see it there.
Explicitly, the packages that we're attempting to use, I'll put these in chat for everybody, are these two. We're using Microsoft ASP.NET Core Authentication Cookies and Microsoft ASP.NET Core Authentication OpenID Connect. We need to make sure we have references to those two packages.
Right, and I don't see them here. So let's force the issue and add them to the mix. So I'll add package reference, include Microsoft ASP.NET Core authentication cookies. It should be there, but we're gonna force it to be there. I could do the install package on that, couldn't I? Instead of
probably
keying it
be
in.
simpler, yeah.
Fine, we'll do it that way. Copy that one. I'm in. I don't want to be in that. I want to be in the orchestrator. Run the install package. It's hiding behind my head. I'm sorry. You can't see that right now, friends, but trust me, it'll be okay. Oh, you know what? I need to do preview because it's installing the 2.2.0. Look at that. Yeah, I put down the older version. Oh, you turkey. Right, I think it's dash preview will let it. Right, dash. I thought there was a preview to allow you to put it down. Include pre-release. That's it.
There you go.
Include pre-release. All right, and it was Microsoft ASP.NET Core authentication cookies. And that should have, no. You make me sad. Why didn't you do that right?
Did maybe add it lower down?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'll just delete it and then re-add it. The right object, right error methods cannot be called from overrides. What? Wow. Wow.
Wow.
We really broke it good. All right, so we'll do this. Manage NuGet packages, and I'll just key them in here and find it myself. Microsoft ASP.NET Core authentication, and that should give me most of these. Cookies, we're gonna. No, I did it again. Well, I should be able to decline. Haha. This one, and I don't want the latest. Where's the include pre-release? There is no pre-release for me to add. Are you kidding? All right.
Fine. I don't know, man. I can't keep up with all the releases of the packages for .NET Core.
I know. It's a little bit crazy. All right, fine. Go install all the things. Authentication Builder does not contain a definition for OpenID Connect. Yeah, I know. We haven't added it.
That's the other package that we need to add. So yeah.
That one was where'd it go?
It's the same namespace, but just .OpenID Connect instead of cookies.
There it is, right there. That one we've got a pre-release. I'm gonna grab the preview for so that it lines up with the other versions that I've got here.
Okay.
And better. There it goes. Love seeing errors disappear. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to close that. What was that? Yeah, I need to do it. Love the mix of previews. No NuGet package manager GUI. Savages. You're right, Lewis. And Frank trusts me. All right. Thanks, Frank.
Sorry, I'm a CLI jockey. When all else fails, I use the GUI.
Yeah.
But I'll try for 45 minutes to use the CLI.
Now, is that right? auth0_domain. Is that going to properly navigate the?
That is not going to properly map. Yeah, so we'll have to correct that.
Yeah. Right. It'll be. Where'd it go?
I think we need auth0:domain.
And I think the capitalization matters, doesn't it?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily, all of this configuration, pulling config values out, is isolated to this one extension method. So once we map it once, we should be good.
Fantastic.
I'm so used to pulling things out of the environment variables now that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's my default mode.
Client secret. All right. So those variables are up there.
Do you want to just skim through real quick and make sure we don't have any others? There we go.
Yeah, these ones down here.
So is auth0 domain?
Yeah. I was just wondering, we've already got it in variables up top. Can we just reuse them?
Oh, we might be able to, yeah.
There we go. And you don't need the client secret to log out.
Nope.
So, good. Okay. So that's updated. Look at the loaded assemblies in my project. In production, they additionally range from 2.2 to 2.20 to 2.25. Ooh. Pass in funcs or parameters that specify how to retrieve the configuration values. Yeah, you could do that too. But I've already got them. All right, so that's outlined. We have to go back over to startup and...
Yeah, and then we need to actually plug that in. And we're going to do it, we're going to start in the configure services method.
Okay.
And the first thing we want to do is we want to configure a cookie policy. So I'll actually plug that in here.
Wait, which startup are you in?
I should be in your startup.cs. Yeah, I see your token. I'm at the very top. Do I maybe need to save before you see it?
It keeps throwing me back into the project file. Let me... Yeah. Follow. Yeah, it's saying that you're in the CS proj file right now.
Let me close that.
Okay.
I can close that. I'll close all of the...
Oh, look, there's my secret. Why did it open secrets JSON?
I just tabbed over to it and to close it out of my interface, so maybe...
Oh, it even showed you that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not supposed to show you. You shouldn't be able to access that at all. Jonathan! That's a problem.
So I've saved some edits to our configure services call.
Can somebody grab a clip for that for me real quick? I'm going to grab this and move it over here, and where'd it go? I'm going to grab the browser here, and I'm going to reset that client secret since it just showed up. But can somebody clip that where secrets JSON just popped up? Now, how do I reset the client secret? Right, I'm on this page.
Let me go in. Let me bring that up. So we should be able to go into settings.
Rotate secret. I see it down here at the bottom.
There you go.
All right, I'm going to click rotate that. Type in the name of the application to confirm. Yes, please. All right, so now I should be able to move over here. And if I just take, yeah, it's a different secret now. Okay. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to leave the one that's currently in secrets JSON there, but I'm ready to paste in the new one when we're ready to go here. Okay. Thank you.
I don't have access to it anymore. Like I can't open it from my side.
Oh, good. Good.
So if I don't have it open in the editor, I can't change tabs to it.
Yeah, it wasn't open in my editor. I had closed out of it.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Yeah, so I'm going to go back to this real quick so that I can right-click and just update that user secret. There it is. Save, close, and
it opened the secrets.json on my side.
Did it?
Yes. Do you want to move to like a different screen and I will close it so it doesn't pop up again
Yeah,
on
I'm here
stream?
in startup.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close it.
Yep.
Okay, good. It didn't pop up in your screen when I closed it. So
And if I click follow on you, it jumps me back into secrets JSON.
that is weird. So currently right now I have startup.cs open and I've added about 12 lines of code to the top of the configure services method.
Yeah, I don't see it yet.
Do you need to do the unload, reload the
I think I
project
have
again?
to, yeah.
That's kind of weird.
All right, unloaded, reloaded. And if I go back to... That doesn't look good. But go back into startup. I don't see your code changes here in startup.
Here, let me try closing some of this stuff and reopening the file.
Yeah, live secret share. Nice.
It is definitely there on my side.
Okay. That's weird. I mean, you can see what I've got here on my screen. I'll go back to this. And you've saved the changes on yours, right?
Yeah, it's saved. Let me try adding something like a comment. Foo.
Yeah, nothing.
All right. So I added a line of comment and saved the document. I don't see anything coming.
Right. That's fun.
Should I maybe try reconnecting to the session?
Yeah, let's try doing that.
Okay.
While you're doing that, I'm going to grab that clip from Hugo. Thank you, Hugo. And I'm going to drop a tweet to our friends on Twitter. Right. It's Jonathan Carter is actually, I forget what he is. What his, the Lost in Tangent. That's him. We're using live share today on stream, and it shared as well as forced open secrets.json live on Twitch. Quick, rotate the secrets and paste the link. There we go. I think that's a bug. That shouldn't be working there. There we go. All right.
And it looks like I'm getting the code to you now.
Yeah,
so.
now I can see where you are.
All right. Looks like we need to include a using up at the top.
Controlled dots in here. There's a using.
Believe that's just one.
Add OpenID Connect, right? So that'll be the using for that authentication extension method. And I'm going to see if we can... There we go. Oh, that feels better.
Nice.
My OCD just...
So basically what we've done here is we've configured cookie policy options.
Okay.
I'm not sure why this is actually necessary off the top of my head, because I don't see anything that is too earth-shaking. I guess the minimum same site policy is none. That seems to be wide open to me, not closed. But the example code came with this. I'll dig into it and see if I can figure out a reason why that's necessary. But I know why the next one is necessary. We're adding an authentication mechanism as a service, and our default one is going to be cookies. So once we've gone through that OAuth flow and actually identified the user, we want to drop a cookie so that we don't have to go through that flow every single request that comes through the application. Makes sense. Our default authentication mechanism is going to be the cookie that the OAuth OpenID Connect implementation drops for us.
Okay.
Right? So that cookie exists. We're just going to rely on the cookie. Otherwise, we're going to add our auth0 OpenID Connect, and we're passing our configuration in to where we can pull the values out that we have in there.
Right. Those things that we put into secrets JSON.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So that's it for configure services. Now we need to go down into our configure method and actually implement the cookie policy and tell our application to use authentication.
So this is the HTTP pipeline. Every time a request comes in, it's going to go through all of these steps from line 78 through the end of line 97. And the web server is going to decide how to handle things in here. So after we tell it use routing, use HTTPS, if you're requesting a static file, go get that static file, then check for authentication. Now, it's interesting, and let me know if you've seen this. We're going to put the cookie policy and authentication after use static files. Because you could put it before static files and technically say you need to be authenticated to access things like the icon or images or JavaScript that's written to disk, which for some folks that might be important. For what we're trying to do, not so much. I don't care.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You can see the images.
So that's it for the configuration itself. Next, we need to be able to give the user a method of being able to log in.
A login button.
And in my implementation of this, I created an account controller to handle the two requests that we need to be able to handle, log in and log out, right?
Yeah.
So do you maybe want to create the account controller to where it gets all namespaced appropriately?
Yeah, let me do that. And I see the request. Yalda Behud is trying to run some of those sound effects that we added last time. And I don't have that effect on the page here. I'm just going to add an MVC controller empty. So we get that scaffolded and added here. And this is going to be the account controller. And if we had full ASP.NET Core identity here, we'd have an area and there'd be a thing. No need for all that right now. It's going to build the project, do all of our package restores here, and we should be up and running in just a second. While that's happening, I'll go ahead and add the attention page, right? Because the attention page is, I think it's this. Yep, that's the URL. I'll add that to the layout so that we get, right? Oh, I do have, nope, that's different. Attention sound effects.
Okay. All right, I'm going to drop in just a couple of routes for us.
Oh yeah, a couple methods.
Yeah,
hey,
just a
Robert
couple
Tables.
methods.
Hello. All right.
So
Well, okay.
I'm implementing a login and I'm implementing a log out.
Yeah.
Right? And we probably need to resolve those using statements.
Right. Tell you what. Let me get Karnak running here. I had my machine reboot on me yesterday, and it dropped Karnak running in the background. Karnak is what shows all the keystrokes. They'll appear right behind Bobby's head over there. Right. So you can't see it until I press a couple of them. So I'm just control dotting for the win here. Right. Do that again. And you know what? I can move those so that they're up at the top. Right, so instead of it being here, I'll put it up there. So now when I control dot, you can see it up top there. Why didn't it find that one? No quick actions are available. Ah, there it goes.
There it goes.
All right.
Pretty good. And these are pretty straightforward, right? They're routes that for login, we're going to use an extension method called challenge async off of the HTTP context.
Okay.
And tell it explicitly we want to challenge using the auth0 provider. And we've got logic here to do a return URL. So if you don't necessarily
let me just... Okay, so there we go. So string the scheme, the name of the scheme that we're using, and that name is what you added, right? Just to make sure that we connect the dots here. That was the name that we added here when we said add OpenID Connect. This is the name of that authentication scheme. Challenge.
Correct.
Make sure you're logged in and use OpenID Connect that we called auth0 over there on the other page. Got it. Okay. I'm following that. Ninja Ola was asking about just that in the chat room. There you go, Ninja.
Yeah, there you go, brother. Or sister, as the case may be.
Sure.
So the next one is our logout functionality,
Okay.
and this one's kind of interesting in that we're using the same scheme. We're going to sign out of OAuth, but then down at the bottom, the last statement on line 29, we're also signing out of the cookie. So you remember when I was talking about there are potentially 3 levels of what logout means?
Yeah.
Line 29 is that first level. We're logging out of the pixel bot.
Okay. My
Line
application.
22 is the second level. We're logging out of auth0.
Okay.
We're not necessarily addressing the third level, which is reaching out all the way to Twitch and causing our session to be logged out there as well.
Yeah.
We're just going to focus on our main identity provider is basically the gist of that. And that code bit is done. Now we just need to go into our layout and actually expose a login button.
Some way to click to get to this. Okay.
Yeah.
So right now, if I go to components pages, we have an index page over here that right now lets folks join the bot to various channels. This should probably be protected, right? Hidden, not immediately available. It's not clear to me yet how to make various components, right, authorized, hidden, inaccessible. But I don't think this should be our index page. I want to rename this to bot channels. Let's call it. I don't know. I think that makes sense. And I'll add another component called index. Right? Oh my gosh. What is it going to be? Right? There's going to be Razor page, where's Razor component? There's got to be Razor component, right? If I say Razor page, it wants index CSHTML. I think this is where we've crossed into this thing isn't available yet. Right? I see all kinds of Angular stuff. No. I'm looking for something .razor, and I don't see it. Nice.
So I think if we want to, we could maybe implement this just in your bot channels page, just to show how the login and authentication works.
Okay.
And once you see how simple it is, well, you can rearrange it to wherever you want.
I'll just rename it back to index.
Yeah.
So I'd want to put something here like right, new paragraph, right? Click here to log in type thing.
Just a second, let me catch up to you. When you deleted the file, I lost where we were at.
I renamed, you're right.
Click here to log in. Am I seeing that? Hello world, P. No, I'm not.
Oh man. I've broken things. Let me close it. All right, I see you over in account controller. If I click back into index.
All right, I'm going to come back to index. Am I in there? Here, let me drop some code in and see if it.
Oh, there we go. Look at that. I've got an exception popping through now up top.
Gotcha. Let me try reconnecting. That seemed to work earlier.
Okay.
All right, leave the session.
There you go.
Get back to it.
Pat1567 says, I feel so much more prepared to understand what is going on after working with Identity Server a few times. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. If you've worked with Identity Server, a lot of these concepts are going to be very familiar to you.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So I am attempting to join.
Yeah, those all look.
Account controller. It's showing me account controller is not saved, so I'm going to save just because.
Okay.
Close that down, and then I'm going to go back to your index Razor. And it's showing my changes on my side, but I don't see your changes. Welcome to the new app. Hello, world.
Yeah.
If I drop some code in, are you... Whoa, not that. Come back and grab this. Index. I'm putting my code snippet right under the welcome to your new app. Are you seeing that?
Nope. Let me do the unload reload. Go ahead and save it. Let me unload and reload it.
Okay.
Hey, Clark IO is here. Thanks so much for that sub. 4 months in a row. awesome. Yeah, I'm getting some strangeness here. This is a lot of preview stuff stacked on top of each other, chat room. So, yeah. We're boldly going where stuff isn't supported yet. So I don't see your changes, but I don't have the errors
how
now.
How can I get those to you in a convenient way?
Go ahead and click back into Index Razor and let me see if I see where you are.
Okay, I'm here.
Yeah, it's not showing you in this file. And if I click it, I'm hoping it doesn't jump into that secrets JSON file. Right?
I'm reopening it. Did that? Nope. Not
No.
coming across. Let me, in Discord, I'm going to paste you the code that I'm trying to drop in there because it's kind of the last piece for our implementation.
Okay. Where is... I thought I had Discord open. Don't I have Discord open? There it is. There it is. Oh yeah, this piece. This is a good block of code. So instead of that, if user identity is authenticated, we're going to show hello whoever and put a logout button. Otherwise, we're going to put a login. Now here's the thing. User doesn't exist inside of a Blazor component. And this is what we were starting to talk about. And this is kind of weird, but it looks like we can inject the context, right? This was something that we were kind of looking at last time. So if we have a Blazor component inject user, this is something that there were some folks on GitHub were talking about. Blazor dependency injection, create and use. Does anybody have that link? No Stream Deck button to launch Discord? No. No. It was on GitHub. Blazor authentication. And there was a great... It's not this one. No. There was a great comment from somebody saying, here's how I added it with information of how they interacted. That's how Michael Washington did it with client-side Blazor. But this is server-side. This. And this probably has a link through to it. Some questions. Let's see. 14 and this one. Because there's a way to do the injection.
You're basically attempting to inject the user object or the HTTP context.
I can't remember which one it is. If we can get the context, we can grab the user.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to find the... There was a fellow who... There we go. Injects app state base. App state is signed in. Well, that's his own object. They want to put an @authorized. That would be nice, but that's not there. This is a duplicate of 4048. Okay, 4048. Let's go find 4048. Here we go. I think this was... There's Brock. Here it is. Joseph A. Young. Add scoped claims principal. Context get required service. Right? See that right there. Configure DI. Gotcha. To include the context. So let's put that into our startup. And I'm about to say, and then it'll be available for us. Yes, that's right, chat room. I said it. Come on, give me mine. I'm waiting for somebody to hit the button. I'm seeing and thens. It's not making the noise. Okay, so there's all of that. That should work. And sign in, right, he does that, whatever. @inject claims principal current user. So if I understand correctly, we should be able now to inject and get current user. So this then becomes current user, and boom goes the dynamite. Right?
Oh, yay.
That looks like it worked.
Red squigglies disappeared, and we need to modify it on line 13 as well.
There we go. Thank you. Good catch.
Yep.
All right. I think that's a thing.
So I don't know if you're using Bootstrap or not, but it's kind of bootstrapified there with the classes and that sort of thing. So.
I think we're okay. All right. So that should give us a login button. Now, how do I have it connected to Twitch?
Well, let's see if login works.
Oh, okay.
Like we've implemented all the pieces for login. I'm fairly certain. Let's see if it actually works with just the default whatever Auth0 gives us.
All right, so I'll set that as the startup project and start this. Yeah, I need and boom goes the dynamite. Build errors. Of course, there's build errors. What did I mess up here? Claims principal could not be found up here. Okay, claims principal is in, right? If I mouse over this, it'll tell me system security claims principal. All right, so we'll put those system security claims principal. Okay, so that was found. Try it again. Look at the names there. Hugo with the words. Oh my lord, words are hard. Darn Skippy. That's not Quiltoni's words are hard emote. All right, so we've got it starting. Come on. Where is it? I'm looking for.
You can do it!
Please. All right, so it looks like it started properly. I'm using Edge Canary build. All right. Where?
I see a login something.
A login something? Let's take a look and see what we have there. All right, so it is giving me not that. It looks like I'm getting something that should be that. Let me F12 into that and take a look there. So if I click on this and over here, A class navlink. Oh, it's an ASP controller, ASP action. It didn't turn that into a tag helper. Look at that. That's interesting.
So how do you specify links within Blazor?
Well, it should have, right? It didn't resolve the tag helper for us, right? That tag helper, I don't have. Well, wait, it's not in there. It's not there either. That's weird. All right, fine. I thought add tag helpers was in there somewhere.
Should it be in view imports? That's where my tag helper is.
Yeah. Well, there is no view imports now. There's now just underscore imports.
Oh, gotcha.
Right. So if we look at Blazor add tag helper, it was not moved into my secrets JSON, Hugo. Oh man, they're trying to get me. They're trying to tag helpers are not supported, at least as of now. Wrong. That was from 2018. No, what's the syntax for it? Right. There it is. Add tag helper. That's what I want.
Looks like it's the same statement. It's just now in a different file.
Yeah. So if I save that, rerun. I'm not sure why I've got a red squiggly there. Hopefully it tells me. No, really. Directives are not valid in a component document. Use using namespace directive instead. Really? In a component document. That's interesting. Because it's there in underscore host CSHTML. So, all right, let me move it over there to host. Right? I mean, where is it? Underscore host is not there. Is it over here? Well, that's where it would be. So if I add it in there, Does that work? So close. Oh, 1 month away from a snazzy blue hat, Matt Holloway. Oh, thanks so much for the sub with Twitch Prime. I appreciate that. Do we have a controller account? Yes, we do. Yep. It wasn't resolving the tag helper at all. All right, so that's going to load. And then. Nope, didn't resolve the tag helper again. Oh, man. That's annoying. Yeah. All right. I think we can just cheat. I mean, we know that it's /account/profile, you know?
Yeah.
I appreciate what we're trying to do there. But I'm going to chalk this up as beta, you know? Beta preview stuff. /logout. /account. And eventually we'll replace it with the appropriate use of the tag helper.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that's kind of annoying. No, tag helpers, they're not dropping. That's something they're trying to make sure sticks around. That's kind of a fundamental Razor thing now. And come on. Start my browser. Okay.
Looks linky-like.
Yeah. All right, we'll fix that display. So if I click login. All right, so
we need some way to specify that that's a server-side route, not a client-side route.
Right. If I click on that. Right, so what this is telling me is that it's Blazor's trying to handle that, not the server.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we make that a server-side link? Shared, I think. No. What? You have another one bites the dust in your head. Nice. No, I didn't want to open that yet. So we want to take not JavaScript, but we want to route outside. We want to go. We want to actually do a server-side navigation. Right? Navlink component. Use a navlink component in place of HTML A elements when creating navigation links. Navlink component behaves like an A element, except it toggles active CSS based on whether href. The active class helps a user understand which page is the active page. So this is more for the navigation element. All right, we're not doing that. URL and navigation state helpers. Use the URI helper to work with URIs and navigation in C# code. Okay. To get the current absolute URI, navigates to a specified URI. If force load is true, client-side routing is bypassed. There we go. So looks like we want to do IURI helper. How do we get that? So I need to inject that and call navigate to when a button is clicked. All right. So grab that. Let's see if we can adapt this quickly. So there's that inject. So we have the anchor here. We could turn that
needs to become a nav link?
I don't think we want to turn it into They turned it into a button.
With just an on-click event, right?
Yeah.
So all we do is add an on-click event to our anchor tag and then call that function to use the URI helper.
I can buy that.
Yeah, that seems to make sense to me.
All right, so if we say on-click here and right, let's just create a method called navigate to and pass in that. I feel like that needs to be in single quotes so that we can get the appropriate escaping there. If we do something similar here, right? like this. Then we need something like that and that. Navigate to somewhere else, right?
It's like you dropped a double quote there.
Yeah, that was it. All right, one more time. That single paren. Okay, so then we need a function to call navigate to. Right, so the function, it's private void is what they did. All right, fine. Private void navigate to string location. And what they're doing is URL helper navigate to some location. URL helper, no. URI helper. Rats. URI helper dot, here we go. Navigate to URI, all right, so that's going to be location. And force reload. Right,
that's true for that, I think.
Yeah. All right. I'm feeling good about this. OnClick made it Blazor from the HTML element. Yes, it did. Hey, thank you for the follow. Is that... Wow. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Anquan1101. Thank you for that. All right, so now that... It's not an anchor now because it doesn't have HTML. An href on it, right? And that on click, yeah, I think we need to make that a button.
Okay.
Right. Here. And I feel like this needs to be a button. Sure, we'll make that a button just to try and get it running here. Yeah. All right. What do you think, chat room? Am I on the right place? Button and input are in green, so they are being recognized. It looked like they were being recognized, but it didn't do anything with it. Starting, come on. Get all compiled here.
Come on, Visual Studio, fight for resources with OBS. Do it.
Yeah, right. All right, so I'm clicking that, and it's still not doing anything. And now I feel sad. Well, wait, look at this. I'm inside of app. Right? Is this actually going? That's working. Right? I've got some errors coming out here. Navigate to is not defined on... You make me sad. Right. I missed the @ for the function name. Oh, son of a gun.
Uh-huh.
You're right. So I can force it to C# mode, which means that these now need to be quotes because now it's C#.
Gotcha.
Right. I have some Blazor docs I need to spend some time with, make sure that I'm all up to speed on.
We've definitely moved away from how do I authenticate to how do I Blazor.
Yes. Yep. Right. This is that crossover here. This is pair programming for the win. Thank you, Janescu, for the pickup there. What did I miss? Can I convert void to callback? Huh? That's here. Private void navigate to. That sure looked like.
It is void.
Private void navigate to. Can I argument 2? Can I convert from void to callback? Do I need to be returning an event? Can you edit your Blazor pages while you're running the application? No, because it compiles them. So if I need to make this an iEvent callback, right? No, that's not a thing. It should be able to just do that with right URI helper navigate to. It knows how to do that. And I really wish I could just put that right on the button. That sure looks like. Right? What do you think, chat room? Help me out here. I don't know. No hot module reloading on this yet. Right? We're still early in previews here.
Yeah.
Right. Get absolute URI. The base URI. No, we don't need that.
Do we need to remove the tag helper, Stelzias?
I don't think so. Maybe the function parameters are problem. What function? No. It's referencing the navigate to down here. If I get rid of the word private, it should still work. So, if it has a using statement right there before the URI helper. Suggesting doing this as a Yarg is suggesting doing this as a lambda. So then I could do URI helper dot navigate to that true. That's working. Okay.
Well, that removes some of the nesting doll effect we had, so that's
oh
nice.
My gosh, yeah. Oh my gosh, yes. All right, so if I replace that, right, and comma true. That, come on, go away. Cool. All right, so I'm feeling better about that syntax.
Looks like you're missing an ellipse at the beginning of that statement.
Rats.
There you go.
All right. One more time. Let's see if we got it. Thank you. Thank you, Yarg. Come on, come on. I'm feeling good about this.
Come on. You can do it, .NET. You can do it.
You can do it.
It's not that hard. I know. Drum roll? I've got a drum roll. I've got a drum roll. Please? All right, so there's the login button. It's navigating. All right.
Oh.
We've got something. Cannot find any component with a route for account login. No fallback is defined. So what I think is happening here, all right, we're really close. If I go over to startup, when we look at the routes, we've mapped Razor pages. We've mapped controllers. We have controllers, an account controller. You know what? We didn't put a route on this. Right?
Makes sense.
One more time. Oh, we're almost there. Maybe? Blazor hype. I know, Janescu. I know. Change the signature of navigate to string instead of void, or use, we use the lambda. All right, so click that. All right. Cannot find any component with a route for, you know what? I don't have the action after this, right? That default signature, right? It's, come on now. Right, and, crumbs. Why am I forgetting my MVC? Right, we need to add MVC controllers. There is a default route template that goes up at the top of these.
In your startup, do you not have a use MVC with a map route called there that just auto maps all of your controllers?
It is in startup, map controllers, but it doesn't specify any routes. So we can either give it to the default route here, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's funny. It's not. Map controllers. Map default controllers route. Yes. That's the one I want.
Makes sense.
Then I can get away with not putting that on. And it should just pick it up. Do I have route in the Razor component? Yeah, that's already handled. That's over in the other files. Yep.
Yeah, we're dealing with server-side routing at this point, not client-side Blazor routing.
Yep.
So
we're crossing the streams, as it were. All right. There we go.
that looks positive. Yay, and we get an error. So
that's fine.
This is actually, I wanted to run into this because this is actually a security feature, right? We're redirecting the user's browser to an identity provider. And one of the things you provide when you do that is you say, once the user is authenticated, where do you want me to send them back to? And as a security feature, we want you to specify, be very explicit about what your callback URLs are. That your hacker, your nefarious people can't produce a website that kind of looks like yours with a slightly different URL and hook into your authentication mechanism.
Okay.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if we go back to our Auth0 dashboard,
which I have here. Let me open that up. All right, so here I am on the dashboard.
Okay. And this is configured by application, so we need to go into our applications.
There's
and
PixelBot.
Our PixelBot application.
All right.
And then go to settings and scroll down to allowed, I believe it's callback URLs.
Yeah, there it is.
So we just need to plug that exact URL that's in the error message into that spot.
So I'll copy it, paste it right there.
And you can put as many URLs as you need to in there. So we're putting localhost, but our production URL is probably going to be different. So we can put as many as we need in there.
No. Okay. Cool.
Okay.
And there's a save button. There we go.
Yep.
I'll go back over to this and I'll refresh. There we go. All right.
So by default, we're already configured with a username and password store for authenticating our users, right? And Google is already set up as a social connection. So we could just go ahead and log in using Google.
Using Google. I'm not. I'm gonna skip that for now.
Okay.
Right. I don't want to share some of that information.
Sure. Once we've successfully logged in, it would redirect back to our callback URL, providing the ID token and the things that we were discussing earlier.
Okay.
So now what we want to do is we want to actually configure Twitch to be a identity provider.
So that we have Twitch there instead of Google.
Exactly.
Okay.
So let's go back to the management dashboard and let me bring up my notes here real quick to where I make sure we don't skip anything.
Cool.
The first thing we're going to want to do is set up Twitch. So we want to go to the developer portal for Twitch.
All right. So that is dev.twitch.tv.
Mm-hmm.
And there, I'm already logged in.
You want to go to your dashboard.
Mm-hmm.
And let's register a new application. It's midway down on the left-hand side, and we can call it whatever we'd like to.
Let's call this PixelBot V2.
Mm-hmm.
V2 like that. Doesn't matter.
And then for the OAuth redirect URL, we're wanting to send successful Twitch authentications back to Auth0, not to our application.
Okay.
So the redirect URL that we want to use is https:// your Auth0 tenant name,
which
so
was
you use C# for it.
Yep.
Auth0.com.
Okay.
/login.
Mm-hmm.
/callback.
That makes sense. I'll set a category. This is going to be a chatbot.
Mm-hmm.
Create that. All right, so there's all that information right there.
Okay, so we want to manage that, and we want to get a client ID and client secret for Twitch.
So
and we want to log those out somewhere because we're going to set them up inside Auth0.
All right, so there's my client ID. So I need a new secret. Are you sure? Yes, I do. Thank you. And now everybody can see it. Yay! I'm going to click new secret one more time and change scenes here so that nobody can see it. Thanks, Twitch. Copy that, paste it over here. All right. And I can't click save or anything here. All right, fine. But I'll go back over to the Auth0 dashboard and show everybody our code.
Okay. So our application is configured. We don't need to do anything else with it until we get to log out anyway.
Okay. Yes,
now,
Robert, I did show the secrets file, but it accidentally popped up when we were navigating around with LiveShare.
Yeah.
So, all right. So
the next thing we need to do is we need to actually configure a connection for being able to authenticate. And if you, on the left-hand navigation menu, there's a connections menu item.
Okay.
And if you go to social, you'll see there's a bunch of social connections. You can just flip the little dip switch and enable them for use in authentication. Notice that Twitch is not there.
Yeah. So we're going to go off the roadmap here. All right.
Yeah. So the reason Twitch is not there is that these providers are actually OpenID conformant OpenID Connect conformant providers. They implement the specification exactly as it is implemented or specified, and Twitch doesn't quite conform to the OpenID Connect specification. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down on the left-hand menu to extensions.
There it is. All right.
And the very first extension you see there is called Custom Social Connections.
Yeah, there we go.
This extends our Auth0 capabilities to allow social connections that built their own social integration based on the OAuth2 specification. So they're not conformant with OpenID Connect, but they are conformant with OAuth2. So go ahead and install it. And then click the link there.
Okay.
And let me get to where I can see where you're at.
Authorize
I'm just kind
this.
of following along in my own tenant. Yeah, go ahead and authorize.
All right.
And because Twitch is a popular service, we've got it kind of pre-configured as a custom social connection. So you can just enable it.
All right.
And here's where we want to add our client ID and client secret that we got from the Twitch developer platform.
All right. I'm going to application URL, token URL. The rest of this stuff is fine, correct?
Yeah, we don't need to modify any of it.
Okay. So before I click save and before I flip the secret in there, I'm going to just hide the screen real quick so that I don't share my client secret again. Save
Hugo
that.
Dahl, yes, that is Louis running around in the background. He has apparently woken up and is excitedly running through my office in the house.
All right, so I've got it saved, and it gave me a try button here.
Mm-hmm.
Should I just close away from this, or
I would just go ahead and close away from it. We don't necessarily need to modify it. Now we've got the custom social connection available to our application. So let's go back to the dashboard.
All right.
And we're going to go to our application.
There it is.
Pixelbot. And click the Connections tab.
Username, password, Google Auth. I'm going to turn off Google.
Yep, and we want to turn off username and password as well. We actually need to enable the Twitch from the extension itself. It doesn't populate in this particular dialog. So if we go back to the extension now.
Is it still over here? There it is.
Yeah.
So click back into this?
Yeah.
All right.
Go back into Twitch. Go ahead and open the dialog.
Well, it's going to show that secret, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Just to be safe, I'm going to hide it for now. Yeah, there's the secret.
So in the top part of this dialog, there's two tabs. We have settings and apps.
Yeah.
Go to apps.
Okay.
Okay. And is it not allowing you to
It's not
enable
giving.
one of those?
Yeah, there's no button or anything here.
All right. Give me just 1 second to figure out where my disconnect is.
All right.
Oh, applications.
Just looking. Yeah.
There's apps. See, when I go to that apps tab, I get dip switches just like we've seen earlier, and you're not.
The toggles. Is it because I
Yeah.
didn't click try?
No, I don't think so. Try hitting save.
Well, you know what? I'm going to click try and just see what happens here. Something failed. Okay. If I click save.
And if you go back to the apps tab,
No, there's no switches.
still not there. That should do it. Why is it not available?
You didn't have to change. Well, no, the script is. You can't change that. Whoa, wait a sec. That's not right for the secret.
I am double checking. I'm looking at documentation real quick. So
Sure.
May have missed a step. So this is the document that I'm looking at that talks about configuring custom social connections. All right, we installed it. Extensions tab. Once you have, install extensions. New connection window will open.
Mm-hmm.
We added in our client ID and client secret. And our callback URL, all of that stuff looks correct.
Once you have successfully configured, you'll be presented with a list of apps associated with your Auth0 tenant. Yep. Using the slider, enable the connection for the apps you want to use it with. Yeah, it's not there. Shashi asks, are there any docs or sample to achieve the same authentication flow with Azure Functions? I don't know.
Do you mean through Auth0 or specifically using Azure Authentication?
It's not clear.
Let's try having you log out of the dashboard and log back in. Let's see if it's a glitch or a bug that I need to log, because it looks like we've done everything appropriately.
All right, so I'm going to close that, close this, log out here. Okay, so I logged in originally with GitHub. Yep, authorize. That's weird because there's nothing.
I think that's an old session.
It must be.
Yeah.
All right, so there's the application.
All right.
Yeah, nothing. That's strange. Custom social connections. And yeah. All right, let's do this. I'm going to log out. Let me start a new private window so I'm sure that the cookies and sessions and all that are cleared. And that was, I went to c#fritzauth0.com. Right?
You can just go to manage.auth0.com.
Cool. And that I can show. Log in with GitHub. Yep. There's my GitHub information. Key in my authentication code from my two-factor authentication, because I two-factor authenticate everything that I can. All right, 348641. Okay. Now that's interesting. I thought we were already in and running.
That's very strange.
Oh,
Are
wait.
you sure
I logged in with Microsoft earlier.
Okay, I
do
was about
GitHub.
to ask. I was like, didn't earlier it was a Microsoft prompt?
Yeah. Yeah. Crumbs. Well, that'll do some of that. Why I might not have gotten it popping up properly, right? Okay, extensions. Installed extensions. There it is. Custom social. That was my bad. Rats. Okay, there's Twitch. So now let me turn this off just so we don't show the secret, because there it is again. Click into apps, and yeah, it's not appearing.
That is really bizarre. So let's try. Go ahead and hit the try button. We were getting an error. Maybe that'll indicate why it's not working for us.
So I will log into Twitch with my credentials. I'll get my two-factor. Okay. Oh, man. Yeah, Face ID stuff. You can't just have it sitting there. Sure, verify. Okay. Connection didn't work. Invalid request. Status code 403. Ooh.
Let's go back and double check our application configuration in Twitch.
Okay.
The dev dashboard.
So let me click manage over here. So my client ID, that's correct.
I'm mostly concerned with the auth0 redirect URL, or OAuth redirect URL. So let me double check mine and make sure I am not myself. Login callback. Yeah, that should work. Are you sure you spelled C# Fritz the same way?
C#. Yeah. Right.
Okay. Wait, your category is set to chatbot. I wonder if that needs to be application integration.
Oh.
Which is what I have mine set to.
All right, we'll change that. I have the same client ID. Didn't change the other. Let me go back to this. Try it again. Invalid request 403. Let's pull a new secret just. And paste that in there.
Hit the save button and then try. Yeah.
Try. No. Slash, right? HTTPS c#fritz.auth0. Right, that's a 0, not an O. .com/login/callback.
Yeah, all of that is set the same way that I have it, so that should be good. Let me think.
Copy the client ID and just verify that it matches. And I'm sorry I can't show you the screen chat room. I don't want to...
Oh, wait a second. Can we go back to that result? And let's look in the query string up there. We have a callback with a connection and an error, invalid request. There's an error description. Oh, that's not really telling us much of anything.
Right, status code 403.
Yeah. Which is unauthorized. So let's double check my settings in the URLs for Twitch. So if we look in Auth0, you have API Twitch, Kraken, OAuth0 authorized. That's what I have.
Yep.
Kraken OAuth2 token. That looks correct. I have a separate tenant that I'm looking at, so I'm gonna try it on mine and see if I get something. Maybe the service is down or something like that. No, connection works. Take me to the dashboard. Maybe go to let's see, Twitch and log out explicitly.
So I'm on, right? I'm in the private browser.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I was logged out, right? And I did the login, and it routed me over here. So I will force a logout now.
Settings.
This.
And
that.
Connections.
Try. Okay. Log in. There's request for my 2-factor code. And my colleagues are sending me a ton of text messages right now, and I think they know that I'm still broadcasting. No, invalid request.
Something failed. Can we go to your Twitch profile settings and look at connected apps? And scroll down to the bottom, near the bottom. What did we call your application? We called it Pixelbot.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's something already in here called Pixelbot.
Pixelbot V2. That's it.
Let's disconnect that app.
All right.
And now let's give that a try.
So click try again. Authorize. So it's authorizing. It's clearly getting into Twitch.
So let's try some debug capabilities of Auth0.
There it is. It is still there 13 seconds ago. All right, what are we going to do?
So let's go to extensions.
I'm going to close this.
Sure.
So, right. Oh, wait, that's in the docs. So I'm going to reopen Auth0 over here. That. Yep, sign in. I'll re-sign in, and I'll be able to re-show the screen here.
Okay.
The Genescu is sharing a link to the Twitch developers documentation. Okay, so all right, I'm in extensions.
Okay, and we're looking for web task logging. Let me double check in my
real-time web task logs.
Yeah, let's install that.
All right, installed.
And we're going to bring that up. And it should give us a console output for what's happening within our authentication request.
Nice.
So let's go ahead and attempt to do the authentication again and see if we're getting any log messages from Twitch.
Okay, so I'm going to put this right there, and I'll put this over here. All right, I'll click into custom. We can see it doing all the web tasks. Cool. I'm going to go back to here because folks are going to would accidentally see my credentials. There we go. I'll click try. Okay.
All right, are we getting anything?
No, nothing.
No messages at all. I wonder if this is related to your multi-factor authentication. Do you mind? Can we disable that on Twitch for your account and see if that is causing a problem?
It cannot be disabled for partners.
That is a solid no.
Yeah.
Huh. That is interesting.
So why don't we try this? If I give you my client ID and token, will it work with your configuration?
I don't know. You want me to share my screen and continue on, or?
No, just try and key those in. Right, you have client ID and secret on
Oh,
your Twitch.
okay. Yes, yes.
Just try and swap them in to make sure that we have the Twitch application configured properly.
Okay. I need to go ahead and actually accept your invite. So give me just a minute to do that.
Because the fact that it's right that this user interface isn't appearing here under apps, right? And let me show. This is not appearing, right? There's no toggle switch that's appearing here.
Yes, that is interesting. You're in Firefox as well, right? So let me see if
could that be?
I'm using Chrome. Let's see if it is potentially a browser issue. You gave me keys. Where are they?
I put them into Discord.
Okay, thank you. Fritz. And the first one was your client ID? Yeah. 2P, 93K. Yep. It does look like that's a different secret than what we're currently using. So I'm going to plug in that secret. I'm going to hit save. And if I go to apps, I get the toggles.
Ah, all right.
I am wondering, and I'm going to hit the try real quick and just verify that it works for me. So I'm authorizing the Pixel bot. Okay, and I'm getting a better error message than you did. I'm getting error invalid request, internal OAuth error, failed to obtain access token, status 403.
Okay. So if we look here at the authentication docs from Twitch, we registered as a client ID, client secret, get a token, identify specifying scopes. What are the scopes we need?
Currently, the only scopes that we're asking for are user read.
Well, actually, it's user read email to get the user's email address. I don't see user read as a scope. I see user : edit, but yeah. User _ read.
Yeah, I believe that's the only scope we're looking for. If you open the Twitch configuration, you see it right there under scope. We're only requesting read.
Yeah, okay.
User read's the only one, and that has worked for me all weekend. And it looks like a little bit of fetching the user profile script that's in that dialog assumes we've already gotten the access token. So it looks like there is some kind of service interruption between Twitch and Auth0. I'm not sure we're going to get around that right now.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so let's try this maybe. Let's go back to extensions, and we're going to uninstall the custom social connections. Try and start over again. So,
all right, so I've clicked into that.
So from the extensions list, I believe we need to uninstall it. So,
all right. So I'm going to close this and that. So I'm over here on the list of extensions.
And go to the installed extensions tab and the little garbage can. Let's maybe start fresh.
All right, and I'll click back into custom social extensions. I'm using Edge Canary, so I'm in a Chrome flavored browser. I'll click back into it. Very important for the secrets to have their own secrets, says Svava. Thanks. It remembered Twitch here.
Great. So I am drilling into that.
And there's our client secret. You know what? I'm going to leave it up there for right now.
Okay.
And we'll rotate it. Ah, look at that. It's trying to log in. That's fine. Authorize. Go ahead. As another account that I have. Now I am getting internal OAuth error. Failed to obtain access token. Look at all that goody.
That is unexpected.
Yeah.
Let me try one thing on my side. I know I have a working example of this. I want to see if I get a similar issue
Sure.
with my working example. Like
Okay.
maybe Twitch rolled out some kind of change and we're just not aware of it yet.
Okay.
So log out of that.
All right. So I'm going to hide the screen and do another new secret on this because I've exposed it only a few times. And go back into the extension, replace it, save it. Try it again. Yeah, now I'm getting status code 403. I was getting invalid OAuth because I wasn't keyed in to. I had changed my client's secret. Let me give you the. So it's a different secret than the one that I had emailed you. Discord sent you.
Yeah.
So that's
my configuration in my personal tenant on Auth0 is successfully logging in without a problem. So it's definitely something we've done here.
Okay, I'm going to try opening then in a new private window. I happen to have several different accounts on Twitch.
Wow.
A bunch. I'm going to try logging in as this account. Yeah, I get a forbidden error coming back. Going to manage.auth0. Wait, hang on. It's going to manage.auth0.com/tester/callback. Wait a sec. Hang on. I know why that is. Because I was manage auth0 dashboard. Get logged into this Microsoft account. Mr. Twitch add Microsoft. Kind of. We're kind of doing that. I wasn't logged into Auth0 when it was trying to route back.
Ah.
All right, so there's that. I'm going to click into extensions. Custom social. Right, I've got like community accounts that I can use also. Just to verify that it's not a partner account issue. All right. Yes, view my saved logins. No, not that. I want this one. So let me log in as, I'll log in as my bot, which is a community. Look at that, two-factor authentication. Yeah. There we go. 2960439. Verify. Yep. View my email address. Go ahead. Nope. Status code 403.
Still errors. Do we have any meaningful information in the URL for error? I think it's just going to be the same.
Invalid requests. That it's that.
Huh.
I've got troll alt account, says Robert Tables. No, I don't. No, I don't. All right.
Yeah, so it looks like maybe something I need to bug and deal with customer support, because it's working perfectly for me, but I definitely don't have the complex setup on Twitch that you do.
Well, and I'm not hitting, right? I'm not hitting anything different, right? This is just an application.
Yeah.
Right? c#fritz.auth0.com/login/callback is where it's trying to go to. But, well, this is manage.
That's because we're using a tester, right?
Okay.
Let me double check since I'm logged into your account. Let me make sure that source is actually enabled
Oh,
for
I do
us.
have the toggle switches when I'm in
Okay.
a Chrome-based browser, so that's not appearing in Firefox.
And it looks like Pixelbot is enabled, and we've disabled Google and username and password. Why don't we go back to the app and try just logging in through the app? Maybe this is a problem with the tester.
Okay, fair enough. So I think we can. I'm going to leave that doc. I just want to make sure I have. Okay, let's show the screen again. So the app is running, and refresh this. Log in with Twitch.
And it's our only available option.
Okay.
Handling the remote login. What's the exception itself?
It doesn't know
Correlation
what
failed.
/callback is.
We need to start the entire process over again because I think our correlation ID for the entire transaction expired.
Okay. So I'll restart here. I think we're getting there.
I think so. And
Leviani, thanks so much for the resub.
Tester bug. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm always finding bugs on this channel. Just ask the Azure folks. They love me.
Live demo gods are always hating on me. I don't get it.
Oh, yeah. So log in with Twitch. Cool.
Again?
All right, now we're getting somewhere. Message contains error, invalid request, status code 403. Error URI is null.
Message contains invalid request. Raw exception details? No.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing we were seeing in the tester. That it doesn't like.
And it's the proxying off to Twitch when it's coming back. There's something blowing up there.
Yeah, you're right, Hugo. Ask the Azure folks, or the LiveShare folks, or the compiler teams. Yeah, we found a compiler error live on stream. Visual Studio, we found Visual Studio problems live on stream. Yeah. So, we're like right there.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we're way over time here, and I need to get running. I've got something I have to get to at 1.
Okay.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we take this offline?
All right.
Clearly, you've got something that is working. Let's see if we can put the two side by side and get it working, and we'll come back and report on what we've the last bit of configuration that isn't working here, so we can finish that off and commit these changes into source control.
Yeah.
Because it's like right there. So let me commit actually what we have right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll do a git status real quick. Add all the files. And let's commit the changes. Added auth0 for authentication with Twitch. And we'll figure out what that is. We'll get this locked up for next time. Git push. So now it's available out there on GitHub. Yeah, there's one last piece it feels like that is just not connecting, and I feel like we do need to call in second level support here just to take another look or put our two configurations side by side. But unfortunately I'm out of time right now. So thank you so much. This was great. I'm really looking forward to getting this running because it crosses that next boundary of, okay, now we can have folks like Cool Tony and Dryad T and Fairy Wings log in with their Twitch accounts and start configuring how they want the bot to behave, and we can actually have the bot start logging into their accounts, logging in and managing their streams. So that's actually a really good step that we've crossed. Like I said, we just had to cross this last thing, why we're getting, and it feels like there's a URL that's not defined or something. I don't know.
Potentially, yeah. I'll go back through all of the settings that we have and verify that we did it correctly.
Yeah, and we'll have a quick update next time so that everybody knows here's that last bit, and we can move forward. Thank you so much. This was great. I really appreciate the time you took to join us and work with getting this piece of functionality built for us. It does happen, Robert Tables. You're right. So the dangers of coding live, you're going to run into something at some point.
Sure.
So
I would like to throw out there for everybody, if they're interested in maybe playing around with this for themselves, my working example is up on GitHub, and you can just pull that source and read the README. It'll walk you through getting all the keys that you need and setting up Auth0 so that it works. So maybe that would kind of sidestep maybe the Blazor issues we were having, and it's just a very clear example of how to implement these things.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Tell you what, our friend Serpent AI is streaming right now. I think we should read. Oh, hey, you know what? We can go to either AI or we can check out Xamarin Forums with Brian Lagunas. You know what, Brian? Let's send some friends over to Brian. Let's raid over there. All right, so I'm going to set up the raid call, and we will set up a raid for Brian Lagunas. So Brian is an MVP that's working on Prism and WPF XAML interactions that you can do back and forth using the Prism library. So if you're a subscriber, grab that first line of text out of the raid call so we can let Brian know that we're visiting from our channel. If you're not a subscriber, that's okay. Grab the second block from that with the bombs, and you'll be ready to go when we visit with Brian. Thanks so much, Bobby. I'm really looking forward to getting this done, get it rolled out. We'll connect afterwards and figure out what's wrong. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. I will see you on Thursday evening. Our friends from the Visual Studio for Mac team will be joining us. We'll see you then. And there goes the raid.